In a recent article from the Blackpool Gazette, it's stated that the new ride coming to Blackpool Pleasure Beach will take the guest experience to unprecedented heights. I don't know about you, but that sounds amazing to me. I'm really looking forward to seeing what Blackpool Pleasure Beach or Pleasure Beach Resort do in the future. So in this video, I'm going to be looking at the options for a replacement of the Grand Prix ride, which is confirmed to be never reopening. It's SBNO for 2024 and it will be replaced. So hello, I'm Scott. You're watching Your Experience Guide. If you do enjoy this video as you're watching through, please hit the like button, please subscribe, and please check out our other videos afterwards. But let's get into this new ride talk. So I'm going to start things off with a little bit of a recap. So last year, the Grand Prix ride at Blackpool Pleasure Beach was quite often closed. It was closed more often than it was open. And of course, with that comes the rumours that permanent closure and removal is going to happen. That was confirmed in March 2024 and then further confirmed by Amanda Thompson in a tweet just before Blackpool Pleasure Beach opened for the 2024 season. And here's what the tweet said. To all Pleasure Beach fans, the Grand Prix will not operate this year as we are planning a new attraction. Don't ask me any more questions about this. I will tell you when I have made a decision. It's interesting because what is the decision to be made? Is it the type of ride, the type of manufacturer? Are we going to see a roller coaster or a different type of ride? It's very interesting to see what Blackpool Pleasure Beach do with the existing space that the Grand Prix takes up, because when you look at it from, say, near the Big Dipper, or even from the station of the Grand Prix, it doesn't look like this ride takes up a lot of space. But when you look at it from above on, say, somebody's drone footage or from the big one or on Google Maps, you can see that this ride actually takes up quite a lot of space at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Because firstly, you've got the big spiral bit at the start, which, to be fair, it's all built on top of each other. It looks a bit like a multi-storey car park. So it doesn't take up a lot of space there. But when you look about how far this ride actually goes along Blackpool Pleasure Beach's south area of the park, it runs all the way under Avalanche, it goes under where the Big One station is, comes back past Icon and then back into the spirally bit. So it does take up quite a lot of space. Now, of course, there is a lot of stuff that was built above it, Avalanche, Big One, near enough Icon. So you couldn't really put another tall coaster in that space without maybe wrapping it around existing attractions. So when you think about it like that, it is interesting in terms of what decision are Blackpool Pleasure Beach or Amanda Thompson making about the Grand Prix space, because is it going to be a flat ride? Is it going to be, say, a big gyro swing or a tower ride or something else that replaces the Grand Prix in that space where the spirally bit is? Or is it going to be a roller coaster that not only utilises space left behind by the Grand Prix after it's removed, but also a roller coaster that uses other dead space in the park, which is nearby to where the Grand Prix is? Assuming that this new attraction is a roller coaster, it would be interesting to see if the current Grand Prix station is actually used for a new roller coaster station, because if it was, it would actually leave Pleasure Beach with quite a lot of options in terms of where they could take this new roller coaster, because it could utilise the space that's been left behind by the Grand Prix. But also, if it was built high and over the top of everything that's staying at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, then it could potentially use the space behind the Bowlerdrome arcade as well, and even extend up to where the fountain currently is at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. And then if it's going to go that far, then maybe it can go over the top of the fountain or around it and use the space left behind by Trauma Towers. There is a lot of dead space in that area of Blackpool Pleasure Beach that could easily be utilised by a new ride or several new rides in the park. When thinking about unprecedented heights at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, I can't help thinking back to the Bigger One rumours back in the 2000s, which was talk of a top thrill dragster type roller coaster being built at Blackpool Pleasure Beach that would launch out of the park and go out to sea and have its own pier built especially for it. Now, of course, there was many rumours about what this type of ride would do, where it would go, how it would fit into Blackpool, all sorts of talk, but eventually it didn't happen, obviously, which is a shame, because I genuinely believe if they've done it, they probably would still hold the world record for the tallest and fastest roller coaster, or at the very least, they'd hold the height record. I don't know about the fastest, that maybe would have been broken by Formula Rossa, but Even so, I still think they would hold the height record until the new coaster opens, Falcon's Flight, over in Saudi. But even so, that would have meant the Blackpool Pleasure Beach held the world record for tallest roller coaster for the best part of 20 years. And that would have been a record worth holding for definite. And it would have been some spectacle watching that roller coaster launch out of the park and out to sea. Yes, it wouldn't have always been open because of high winds, but it would have been an amazing roller coaster for Blackpool Pleasure Beach to have in their park, and for Blackpool to have. It would have been a world famous attraction for Blackpool Pleasure Beach for a very, very long time. Anyway, it didn't happen. Could it now happen? Could that be the attraction that takes guests to unprecedented heights, or the guest experience to unprecedented heights? Personally, I don't see that happening, but I don't think Blackpool Pleasure Beach taking the UK height record back is completely out of the question. So let's talk about how that could happen. So firstly, who could build a roller coaster that would take the guest experience to unprecedented heights? Who could build a roller coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach that would take back the UK height record straight back off Fort Park in a couple of years' time? Now, of course, there's always rumours about Blackpool Pleasure Beach's new rides, ride removals and so on. And of course, there's already lots of rumours about who might be building this new attraction. And those rumours are suggesting it is one of 3 manufacturers. Mack Rides, who built Icon, Intamin, who have built some amazing rides over the last couple of years, and for the last 30 years, to be honest. And then there's Vekoma, who have basically changed their game over the last 10 or 15 years with their modern versions of their roller coasters. 3 excellent roller coaster manufacturers who could all put an excellent new attraction into Blackpool Pleasure Beach. So I've had a look on the products pages on Mack's site, Intamin's site and Vekoma's site, just to familiarise myself with a couple of ride types that could potentially take the guest experience to unprecedented heights at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. Now, the first one I want to talk about is Mack, because I actually think that Mack is probably an unlikely one in terms of taking a height record at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, because that would mean that Blackpool Pleasure Beach were basically building another Hyperia, and in the space that they've got, I don't think there's enough space for a Hyperia type roller coaster in Blackpool Pleasure Beach, where the Grand Prix is, without also removing Avalanche. And at the minute, that's not been suggested is going to happen in the imminent future. There is rumours that Avalanche will go in the next 5 or 6 years, but in terms of this project, I don't think that that is going to be part of what gets removed to make way for this attraction. Or I genuinely think we would have found out about it when Amanda Thompson put a tweet out a couple of weeks ago. So when looking on Intamin's website, there's 4 roller coaster types that could potentially be used by Blackpool Pleasure Beach to take the guest experience to unprecedented heights. So you've got the vertical launch roller coaster, the vertical LSM shuttle coaster, an LSM launch coaster, which would basically be like Icon. So if they're going to do that, then it's going to be something like Red Force at Ferrari Land, Portaventura. And the other one was a vertical lift coaster. And the reason I've picked out those ones is, firstly, on the vertical launch, vertical LSM or vertical lift coaster, obviously you're not taking up a lot of space for a lift hill. If it's a vertical launch, they can launch it straight up to whatever height they want, basically. Same with a vertical lift hill, and again, you're not taking up a massive footprint to do that. They can put it in a tiny space where it's just going upwards. They're not going to need all the supports that a traditional lift hill is going to need. The vertical LSM shuttle coaster, again, it's not the kind of thing that's going to take up loads of space, and it could take a height record. In terms of the LSM launch coaster, something like Red Force, yes, if they were going for something like the bigger one, but I think out of the 4 coaster types I've mentioned from Intamin, that's probably the least likely, but I wouldn't rule it out at this point, and to be honest, I'd be really happy to see that, especially if it was going to take some height record. I mean, imagine we do actually get the bigger one coaster at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. No, it's not going to happen, is it? Right, I'm going to stop talking about that, but honestly, it would be amazing, but I don't see that happening. And the last one is Vekoma. They have built some incredible roller coasters over the last 5 or 10 years. In terms of taking a height record though, the only one of their coasters I could see doing that is potentially the Tilt coaster. And that is a coaster that will get literally everybody talking about it. You just think about when you go on social media and you read about roller coasters on just general articles from, say, I don't know, regional news outlets, nationwide outlets. Either way, you read about a roller coaster like, say, for example, Big Dipper or Grand National, or just something that's got a bit of airtime, and you only have to read the comments and it's like, this ride threw me out. My partner had to save me from being thrown out. This roller coaster needs more seatbelts and lap bars. So can you imagine that's the general response to airtime? So can you imagine the response to a roller coaster that has actual tilt track on it? It would be chaos on social media, and it would be perfect marketing, because they'd literally be talking about it all the time. And they'd all have their own theories about how it worked and whether it was safe and all this. It'd be amazing. Honestly, it'd be the perfect ride to market for anyone. But yeah, I think, and I'd like Blackpool Pleasure Beach to get an Intamin coaster. I've been saying for about 3 years now, I would really like to see an Intamin coaster coming over to the UK. Obviously, we've got one at Drayton Manor coming, but something like one of their bigger coasters at Blackpool Pleasure Beach, amazing. I really hope that happens. Now, of course, I could be interpreting this completely wrong. When Blackpool Pleasure Beach have told the Gazette that their new ride is going to take the guest experience to unprecedented heights, they might well not be talking about a height record. They might just be talking about, it might just be a general comment in terms of, you've experienced all these other great rides, but we're raising the guest experience with our new amazing ride that's better than anything else. So it doesn't necessarily mean they're going for a height record. But I'm really hoping that Blackpool Pleasure Beach have still got that competitive edge from the 90s, where they think, we want the tallest coaster in the country. We want everybody to know about our tall roller coaster, which is taller than every other roller coaster in this country. Will it happen? I really don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens. I don't think we're going to see any movements in the Pleasure Beach until 2025, 2026 in terms of removal of the Grand Prix and then construction. I don't expect to see this new ride that has been mentioned opening in, say, like 2 years. I'm thinking it's going to be like 2027, 2028, where we see a new roller coaster taking guests to unprecedented heights at Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But for now, we've got plenty of time to speculate it. So let me know in the comments section below, what would you like to see Blackpool Pleasure Beach build? What do you think they're going to build? Does it need to be a family coaster, a thrill coaster? What would you like to see them do? Let me know in the comments section below. Many thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. Please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.